Welcome to Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today, I am blessed to be joined by Denyse Maxey, mother of Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Denyse, welcome to Courtside Moms.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
It is an absolute pleasure for me to speak to moms and learn about the moms and of course our sons. So before we get into Tyrese, let's talk about you. Who is Denyse Maxey and what do you do?
Well, that's a great question. I think I'm still figuring it out, right? But yes, Denyse Maxey. I am a mother of three. I have three amazing kids. My oldest is a teacher. She's 30. And then we have Tyrese, who is obviously a Philadelphia 76ers. And then we have our young daughter who's 15 and she plays volleyball. Outside of that, I am still in corporate America. I've worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield in project management as well as sales and marketing for over 20 years. And so that's really my passion. I do a lot of community work, a lot of volunteer work, volunteer a lot at the different local high schools and school districts. So that's really kind of where my passion is volunteer work and being as heavily involved in the community as I can. And I love my husband of 20 plus years. And so that's who Denyse Maxey is in a nutshell. That's as quick and easy as I can give it to you.
Oh, Denyse sounds awesome. and I love how you said I'm still in corporate America. And that's beautiful because a lot of people assume when we become NBA moms that life is over the way we knew it from before. And I'm like, no, she's Denyse the woman. Yeah. She's Denyse the woman before she's the mom. She's Denyse that person who is in corporate America, enjoying corporate America and having her own identity and doing what she does. Then she's Tyrese's mom. So I'm, and that's why it's so important for me when I ask the moms, like, who are you and what do you do? You know what I mean? Because we want people to understand that. So now let's talk about Tyrese. How was he introduced to basketball and at what age did he start playing?
Well, my husband is huge in basketball. He's been a high school basketball coach for many, many years. Prior to that, he played at a high level here in Dallas. He won, the only state championship at Hillcrest High School. He's super proud about that. And then he went on to play at Washington State, where he did amazing. And then once he graduated, came back to Dallas and became a high school basketball coach. He even did 1 year at SMU, one of the local colleges. So he's been in basketball all his life. So when we had Tyrese, I think one of the first things, there's a really good story out there. I can't remember who did it, but there's a really good story out there about when we brought him home from the hospital, I gave him this teddy bear that plays this some type of theme basketball music. And he would play it for him like every morning before he went to work. So he kept the little bear in our son's crib, and every morning before he went to work, he would play this theme song for him. And is that how he got into basketball? I have no idea. But by the time he was 4, he was dribbling like he was probably 10, just dribbling the ball, constantly shooting, constantly doing something with the ball. So we thought, okay, well, let's try it out. Do you want to play basketball? Mm-hmm. So we just threw him in a rec league, and I think he was 4, and the rec league was between 6 and 8. So they were super amazed at what he could do at 4 years old. One of the things that my husband would tease him about at that point was that he wouldn't pass the ball. It was a one-man show at 4 years old against these 6 to 8-year-olds. So that's kind of how he got started. A lot of it was just, he's around it so much. A story that I like to tell is that even prior to him learning how to write his name, he was drawing out X's and O's plays because he would watch my husband study for a game, or, he'd go scout a team with my husband, and he's, 2, 3 years old. So he would take paper and scrabble these little X's and O's and pretend like he was drawing plays out. So he's been into basketball, I would say, from the day we brought him home from the hospital, actually.
Sounds like you have a future coach in the family. Another one.
Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So as the years went by, did he play like AAU ball?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, he started with the rec league. So he did rec league maybe that one season, and then after that, we moved him to a different. Okay, he seems like he's pretty serious about it. So he played at another little league in the inner city. So I thought, okay, well, that was cool. And while he was playing in that league, he was recognized by, I guess, an AAU program. We were just kind of playing, and
Mm.
we had never heard of AAU, had never heard of summer ball, had never heard of any of that. We were just kind of new at everything. So a guy that had been running a summer league, or I'm sorry, AAU program for quite some time, recognized him, and they needed a point guard to go with them to play in a national tournament in Orlando that year. So at that point, he was 7, and it was a 1 year older team that wanted him to come and play point guard for them. So they came and asked us if he could start practicing with them and possibly go with them to the national tournament that year. And my husband was like, "Yeah, that sounds really cool." So that's how he got into AAU. He was just playing rec ball, and someone saw him and said, "Hey, come play with us." And from that point on, since 7 years old, he played until he graduated high school.
I love that. I love that. It's true because for me too, I didn't know what AAU ball was.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I was like, what is that? And then they were like, oh, it's really competitive and they
Mm-hmm.
travel. And because my son started when he was 6 and then he came out of it and went back when he was 13. So I never really heard of competitive ball, really. I mean, I played, but it just went to college level and that was it. And then I just went about my way. So when I started hearing about AAU, I was like, hold on, this is something different. This can get him to a
Mm-hmm.
different level. But at this
Mm-hmm.
point, you know what I mean? Like as parents, we got to start resourcing and looking and seeing what is this all about? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm understanding. I love what you're saying. Like, yeah, we didn't know because people just seem to think that we know everything that comes with
Yeah.
basketball. And it's a learning experience for us as well. It starts with us.
Yeah, I'm still learning every day. Every step of the way, it's a learning curve. Going through
Yeah.
AAU, we learned the ins and outs of that, and then we advance to high school level. You learn that the recruiting, and then you get to college, and you have to figure that out. And now you're in the league, and
Hmm.
it's like an ongoing. I call myself a student of life because I'm constantly learning how to maneuver in new spaces.
Yes.
So you're right, we don't know. I can tell
Yeah.
you now, hey, what worked for us that may work for someone else, but you don't know. You're learning throughout the entire process for the entire time.
Right. Yeah. There was no manual of how to be an NBA parent, right?
No, I wish there were. I wish there
Yeah,
was,
we
but
all
I
do.
would I would definitely I would have had it a long time ago. But there's no
Thank
there's no
you.
manual. There's no manual to being the NBA journey. There is no manual to being a parent. There is no manual for any of it to say, okay, am I making the right decisions? For us,
That's right.
we are a faith based family, so for us it was a lot of prayer, a
Yeah.
lot of chatting, and praying that we made the right decisions throughout the way. So that's the only manual we use.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. And that's the best manual. And at the end of the day, you know what? You just do it.
You just
You
do
won't
it.
know. You won't know until after you do it. So, we can't move in fear in life. And I say that to my kids. Do you want something? They're like, yes. So then do it. Just
Yeah.
go ahead and let's see. And if you fail, at least you tried. And now let's just find a different way for you to do it a different way and better.
hmm I concur.
So, yeah. So, during his AAU, he played in high school. So, or he was in high school. So, what were his high school games at South Garden like for you? And take us all the way to his senior year.
Oh gosh. So high school, like I said, my husband was a high school coach for many years. So now it's
Hmm.
time for our son. Like he's coached these high school kids forever. Now it's time for our son to go to high school. And we're like desperately looking like where do we want him to go to high school? Um, where do we want this father son relationship to go, right? And so we are from Garland, Texas. I think everybody knows that. And so my husband said, I think I want Tyrese. He's born and bred here in Garland. So we thought, okay, I think I want Tyrese to go to a Garland school. So my husband accepted a job as an assistant coach at South Garland High School. And so now our high school journey begins. And South Garland, although we are in the suburbs, which is about 12 to 13 miles east of the city, it still has somewhat of an inner city feel. So they had never had a basketball booster club, and the school, just didn't have some of the bells and whistles that some of the other schools had. So we decided to really work with an amazing group of parents, and we created a booster club. And so we created our booster club, and now we've got our kids there. We've got about 5 to 6 guys that came together that had known each other for the last, maybe since they were 8, 9, 10 years old, and all decided to go to this one school, which was South Garland High School. So ninth grade year begins, and most of the boys started on varsity. And then right as the season starts, we're 8 or 9 games in. Tyrese is rolling. He's doing amazing. He's killing it. And he falls or takes a nasty fall. So he had a little bit of an injury and decided that, we just kind of set out the rest of freshman year. He started back the AAU season. And now we're kind of advancing towards, getting his first offers for college and those things. So now we fast forward to sophomore year. Sophomore year, the gyms are packed. There's standing room only. You can, when you're hearing that he's playing, he's got a game, it was a crazy time. Everybody's trying to come out. Junior year, crazy. It just advanced more and more and more. So by the time senior year got there, you just could not get into the South Garland gym. So they went from having maybe 50 people in the gym at a varsity game on a Friday night to being a complete sellout every single night to come and watch, him and his teammates, take on whatever opponent they had at the moment. So it was exciting. It was fun. You just didn't know what to expect, but it was the most fun I think I've ever had during high school, outside of my own high school years. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, and he really did set the city on fire on those Friday night games. So that's kind of what our high school experience was like. It was fun.
And that's the best, because that's what you want. You want to be able to go to a gym and be excited and just, you know what I mean? Just, you can't wait for the games. The games are so meaningful for everybody. Like you said, the city's coming to see, everybody's in there, everybody's just mushing into the gym and finding that little standing room space if they have it, or getting there early so that they can get the last seat on the bleacher, and we're just there enjoying people's,
And we were working the booster club moms are working the concession stands and making sure that, the lines didn't get too long during the halftime, and we didn't run out of food because, how we are. Sometimes we come to the game and whatever reason they want that one snack on Friday night. So you definitely didn't want to be the team that ran out of the snacks that you definitely were going to get talked about later that night on social media.
Oh yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. It really was. I can't say that, that we regretted any moment of it. It was a lot of fun. We had the most fun I think I've had in a long time in the high school. So I think he would concur. We'll see, but maybe.
So you said, I think it was his sophomore year where he started getting some scholarship letters. So what was that like to get when you got the first one?
Well, for us, we decided that we wanted him to focus on his academics and, getting to the college that he chose, that he really wanted to go to. So for us, and this is for us and our family, we decided not to share his offers with him. We would get the offers, maybe in the mail, or some, coaches would call us or whatever the situation was, but we did not share the information with Tyrese. We decided we didn't want it to be a distraction, or for him to think, okay, I've arrived, and, to start working hard. So on many occasions, and I don't think that he ever will agree with us if you ask him this question, on how we handled it, but we just didn't share a lot with him. And so we felt like, he was mature enough. And then at one point when the coaches started being able to reach out to him, then we really could control a lot. We couldn't control a lot of it. But the initial offers, we kind of kept them to ourselves. And, that's that's the route we chose to take. I don't know if other parents are doing that, but we thought it was the best thing to do at that moment so that he wouldn't get a big head about it and that he wouldn't lose focus on, where he was trying to go with his college career.
No, I understand that because, like you're saying, you want our kids to focus. You want them to focus on what they're doing and really not where they're going to go yet, right? Because so many offers are going to come in, and then they just lose sight of what they're supposed to be doing. They're like, oh, okay, this school is calling. Okay, well, this school, and then this school, and they're not really paying attention to, no. It doesn't mean you're going to go there. Let's just really keep developing and keep getting better and better. And then you're going to be able to make a choice, but don't go running to the first school that calls. Yeah, it's very important. I mean, like you said, everybody does it different, and you did what worked for your family. So college recruitment and then school selections and visits are so important to the inception of a player's NCAA career and beyond. How did you prepare for these meetings? And what type of questions did you ask these coaches just to make sure that they're on that same trajectory as you?
Gosh, my husband handled the majority of the college recruiting. For me, I think I was more excited about when he made it to the point where they were going to come to the house. And oh my gosh, I had saw on TV how they would have like a dinner or something planned. So I was more excited about, oh wow, this coach is coming in. So what am I going to prepare for dinner, or what are we going to bring in for dinner? So that was kind of how I handled it. And as far as the questions that I asked, I was more trying to get a feel for the coaching style and how that style would kind of fit with my son's playing style. So when I would go to the games, I would pay more attention to how the coach interact with the team. Even when he called a timeout, how did he interact? How did the players interact with the coach? How were they? What were they feeling? What were they thinking? Could they talk to the coach? Could they interject their thoughts? Could they how did he handle them? Did they have a sense of respect for him? And did he have a sense of respect for the players? Where was the gym located? My son was often referred to as a gym rat. That was a big deal to me because I knew he wasn't going to have a car that freshman year, depending on where he was going. But I knew at the moment he was planning to go pretty far, so he wasn't going to have a car. Getting to the gym several times a day, early morning, late night, was a big deal to him. When I went to the school, that was a big deal for me. Let me go see where the gym is at. So the gym was a mile away. I knew he wasn't going to have a car. It was going to be an issue for him to get back and forth as much as he would have liked. What other players are there? Who plays his position that's still going to be there? And when are they leaving? What's their year? Are they freshman, sophomore, junior? What are they? All those things are things that I kind of paid attention to. And then my husband really worked on what type of system they ran and how would Tyrese's style of play fit into that system. What did the coach look for to keep our son on the court? And what did Tyrese bring to the team? What was his addition going to be? How is he going to mesh with that team? Those are the general things we looked at. We can get into specifics, but that's the overall feel that we kind of, that's how we approached it. I had my things I looked at from, when we would go on the visits from a mom's perspective, and then my husband kind of handled the logistics part of what he had in mind and how Tyrese would fit the program.
That is amazing because, sometimes parents get these letters and these schools call and the coaches come and do the visits. Like you said, they come to the house or wherever and they sell you the sun, the moon, the stars. And if you don't know what to ask, you're just putting your kid in such an uncomfortable situation because now they may not fit the program or fit the program the way we want them to fit the program. And And the reason why I say that is because at the end of the day, these coaches want to build their program as they should. But we're looking future. We're looking, yes, my son's going to come play. However, the goal is the NBA. So is he going to be positioned properly? Is your program going to help him move forward? Is it just going to help your program? A lot of parents don't think to ask these questions. My first 2 phone calls, I certainly didn't ask. I didn't know. I was just so excited, like, oh my God, they're calling my son. My son's from Canada and he's going to leave. He's going to go to the States. I had no clue. But you know what I mean? After a while, I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Wait.
I mean,
and then
those things are important.
Yeah. And then I took a second to stop and think of a lot of the things that you said, but it didn't dawn on me at the beginning. It didn't. I was like, oh, well, he must fit. Why would they call if he didn't fit? But I wasn't thinking further along until after. So it's important. And the way that your husband and yourself, like a tag team, you're asking a set of questions, he's asking a set of questions coming from 2 different angles, but at the same time, these are the angles that you both need to fit your son's comfortability in the school. Like just something simple as, well, where's the gym in relation to where his dorm is? That's important to a lot of students, a lot of
it's very
athletes.
Important.
Absolutely.
So it's very important, and you don't think about it until you get on campus, or if you don't think about it until you get on campus, then now you've got to say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It becomes a problem, right? I've talked to parents and talked to moms where they didn't consider the location of the gym, and they moved their child from the southern region to maybe the East Coast where it's a lot colder. And now their child is a mile and a half, and they're having a problem getting to the gym, and they're not getting or putting the time in that they would have had they, taken the time to say, okay, I know I got to walk to the gym in 20 degrees weather, right? Okay, it's not a big deal because the gym is literally across the street, right? But as opposed to being a mile and a half and I got to find a ride, or it's snowing outside, all those things, it doesn't seem like a big deal until you're in it. But you're right. And to your point, you're right. They're calling and you're excited. Then you have to kind of calm yourself down and say, okay, wait a minute. What are we doing here? And what's the ultimate goal? And what do we need to do to make sure we're taking the right steps and the right measurements to get to that ultimate goal, which in our son's case was getting to the league. So.
Absolutely. So out of all your offers, you chose Kentucky. So why University of Kentucky? And what did you think they could do for Tyrese more than the other options that you were considering?
So my son was a huge Calipari fan. Prior to him being at Kentucky, he would sit in front of the TV and gaze at him coaching. Gosh, what's his name from the Bulls? He now plays with the Knicks. I should know this. I should get a big slap on the hand. The little point guard. Gosh, you got to know.
I'm thinking too.
What's his name? Oh gosh,
I know. And I'm sitting and
oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I can't think of his name. Sorry, she's going to kill me. So anyway, he would literally sit in front of the TV and watch the Memphis games with Calipari coaching. And from that moment, he said, I want to be coached by Calipari. So we were like, oh God, okay. And that's when my husband, he bought books on Kentucky. After that last season, Calipari moved over to Kentucky. So at that point, my husband, he bought books. He started to study Calipari's movements. He started to study, the different plays, the different things he would run, how he would, what he would look. One of the things he would look at, he would show and say, okay, look, Tyrese, we would be watching the games. He'd say, watch, this guy's going to come out. He missed a defensive box out. Tyrese, this guy's going to come out because he didn't, defensively box out this guy. Sure enough, Cal would go to the bench, put in somebody else because he missed the box out. He would shoot a bad shot that didn't make sense. And my husband would say, look, Tyrese, he's going to come out the game. Watch. Sure enough, he would come out the game. So all those things is what my husband would look at, and he would point them out to Tyrese. These are the things that you're going to have to be really good at to get Calipari's attention. These are things that you have to pay attention to detail on defense. You got to pay attention to this. You have to do all these things so that when we finally get Cal to come and watch you play, he's going to notice you're doing these things and that will give him, okay, let me take a peek at this kid. So we lead up to the decision. We get all the offers, and he had offers from everywhere, starting from Stanford to, gosh, I don't know, you name it. I think he had an offer there, which was amazing. It was an amazing spot to be in. And he really did consider, really seriously consider a couple of the other schools. But at the end of the day, when he came down and told us that he had made his decision, he said, Mom, my heart is just at Kentucky. My heart is just there, and it's where I want to go.
Yep.
I don't care how hard you guys tell me Calipari is going to be on me. I don't care how hard I'm going to have to fight for minutes to get on that court. That's where I want to be. And we said, okay, if that's what you want, then let's do it. And I think the very next week, he made his college decision announcement. And that's how we ended up at Kentucky. And what did I think Cal would do? I'm going to just be real honest. I was nervous. I had been to several games and had watched Cal, with the kids, and I'd watched it on TV for many years. And Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is the guard's name. I'm like, geez, I can't believe I can't remember that. So Derrick Rose from Memphis. Yes, that's his name. So I had watched, watched several games, and, just talking to Tyrese about it. And, he put several guards. He'd helped several guards on their path to the NBA. That's something that he had kind of became, honestly, very popular for doing. You go to Kentucky, you play well, and next thing you know, he became the one and done type, coach.
Yep.
He was the one that kind of created that whole little era, right? So, it was said, okay, if you go and you play well and you perform and do your job, then maybe this is a shot. Maybe we've got this one and done thing down. And so that's what I had to think about. In every game that he coached my son, which he coached my son extremely hard. But even if you ask my son now who coached him hardest, even with the coach he currently has and Cal and my husband, he still points out that he feels my husband was the hardest guy to play for. But yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that we're on the path to get to the career that our son has desired and has expressed to us that he wants. So if this is the path we have to take, this is the route we're going to go. And that's what I felt. That's why I said, okay, this is what we'll do. And that's how we ended up at Kentucky.
So what was it like to be the parent of a Kentucky Wildcat?
Oh, gosh. Well, okay, let's get past the looks that you get when he committed, and we go to an out-of-state game at an EYBL tournament, and you have on a Kentucky shirt, and you get the look from the parent next to you saying, oh, how did they get to Kentucky? I'm sure you've had that, right? But you get those looks, from the other parents, and till I got to the point, like, do I wear a Kentucky shirt today, or do I not wear a Kentucky shirt, or geez, what do you do? Because you get those looks, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. So now we're on the path to Kentucky, and that's honestly what it feels like to be the parent of a Kentucky player. Initially you get that look like, whoa, your kid's going to Kentucky, or your kid's going to Blue Blood, right? And then you advance to dropping them off in June, and all of I think it's like 21,000 fans in that stadium, or I'm sorry, in that arena. And, going to the Big Blue Madness, right before the season starts, the season opener, and the fans just going crazy, arriving there at the arena, at Rupp, and the buses, and they've got the red carpet, and you get off the bus, and it's like you're a rock star. It's like if you're not going to a game, you're actually at a rock concert. It's like a rock star effect or something. So it's instant fame, honestly, going to Kentucky. I'm not sure about any of the other Blue Bloods, but I can only tell you what our experience was like with Kentucky. It was awesome. It was amazing. But it was also a little nervous as a mom, like, oh my gosh, all these people are looking at my kid, and they're talking to my kid, and and they have access to him, and there's social media is blowing up, and it's tough. It was a tough spot to be in, just for me, I just prayed every day, every night that he was going to be okay with all of the attention. And he did. He loved it. You know, Tyrese is one of those people who, I call him a camera magnet for whatever reason. No matter where he's at in a facility, in a gym, outside, seems like the camera just finds him, and he loves it. I don't know if you've seen some of his stuff on some of his social media,
Mm-hmm.
but he's interesting. He's a character, but he loved it. He soaked it up, and he did well. If
Right.
your kid is not wanting to be in that particular limelight, I guess, or that in that atmosphere, that rock star feel, then I don't know that Kentucky at that
Yeah.
moment. I'm not sure what it's like post COVID, but at that moment, pre COVID, it was a lot. It was a lot, and it was a lot for me
Yeah.
to take in, being the introverted person that I am. But I just prayed, prayed that he
Yeah.
would be
That's
okay.
it.
Talked to him every day. Kind of got a feel for what he was thinking, what he was going through, and but that being the parent of a Kentucky kid is like, it's the only way I can explain this. I say it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, he got a lot of attention on and off the court. So now at this point, you're considering moving his career forward. So did you interview agents prior to making a final decision? Or did you always have one in mind from the start?
No, we really didn't entertain agents for a while.
Yeah.
Didn't. We kind of stayed with the same concept that we had, same model that we had with trying to select a school, and that was, we're mainly just going to watch his games right now. We'll see how things go. When it's time, we'll figure it out. So we had a few conversations here and there, but we were very selective with those conversations that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we did not tell Tyrese who we had been talking to as an agent, who had been contacting us. The one thing that we did tell them, that if they ever reached out to our son in college, they would never talk to us.
Yeah.
Like, do not contact our son. He's focused right now. He's got his academics. He's got, he's trying to make sure he's on the court and doing what he needs to do. So, if you want to talk to someone, you need to talk to myself or my husband, mainly my husband.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how we handled it. And, what we looked for in an agent was somebody that we felt Tyrese could relate to. That was a big deal because we didn't know the NBA industry. We didn't know anything about it. So we didn't know what those games are going to be like. How's he going to feel after a game? Who's talking to the coaching staff? We knew that mostly, heck, we were thinking coaches don't talk to parents after the recruitment process is done in college. Surely they're not going to talk to parents when he gets to the NBA, even though your kid is young. They're not talking to us. So who can we, bring on board that can really have a relationship with our son and have a relationship with the coaching staff that, can come back and communicate to us that Tyrese is going to want to communicate with. That was first and foremost. And then we looked at, what can they do for Tyrese from a marketing standpoint, and what type of relationships that they have that we could possibly tap into. Now you have to think about this too. It was COVID. We were in a pandemic. And when we were looking at agents initially, we were, the pandemic had not hit. So when the pandemic did hit in March of 2020, and they shut everything down, and all the kids came home, and Tyrese came back here to Garland. Then we had to make a decision. What do you want to do, son? You didn't get to play in the tournament. You'd had a good season. You had a really good season, actually. We were SEC champs that year. He'd had some really good SEC. He was SEC Player of the Week a couple of times, and he had a really good percentage. He had a good season, a good 8 months run. But we were looking forward to making a deep run into the conference, not the conference, but the tournament.
Yep.
Sorry, the tournament.
Yep.
So we were looking forward to that. That didn't happen. So once everything shut down, he came home, and then we started to tell him some of the agencies that had been reaching out to us. And we, at that point, had narrowed it down to either we're going to go, we had three that we had said, okay, these are the top three that we feel would be a good fit. and then we started talking to them. We started talking to them
Right.
and letting him kind of talk to them, and them reaching out to him, and just, trying to figure out what we could do, because everything we could do at that moment was on Zoom. It wasn't like we could go and see them or he could meet them in person. And
Mm.
so once we kind of figured out, okay, this is the one agent or agency we're going to go with, then we finally flew out to the area that he was in, and met him in person, and
Right.
started the draft process.
So once it became more clear that the NBA was a real possibility for Tyrese, how did you then decide who would enter or remain in your inner circle now to help your process of getting him to the NBA?
Whew.
Mhm.
We're close knit family.
Yeah.
So we decided that somebody needed to go and live with Tyrese. He literally just turned 20 years old.
Mm.
And no, in fact, he was 19. As a matter of fact, when he entered the draft, he
Mhm.
was 19. When he got drafted, he was 19. A couple of weeks later, he turned 20. So
Yeah.
now we have to figure out who's going to go with our son. So we thought, we know he doesn't want his mom around all the time. Probably not a good idea. All right. So Dad, probably not you either, Dad. Probably doesn't want you coming and going in. No. So my husband, okay, so it can't be one of us. We don't want to go hang out with him all day, and he's not going to hang out with us all day. Let's find somebody else. So I have a younger brother. He's 12 years younger than me, and he's into basketball as well. So we went to him and we said, hey, we need somebody to kind of hang out with Tyrese, somebody to be there to kind of watch over him, to, somebody he can lean on, make sure he's getting to and from practices, make sure he's, eating the right foods, he's doing the right things, he's keeping some of the people away from him. So my brother very graciously said, okay, I'll do it. So he quit his job, and he decided to just move in with Tyrese and be his client services person. So we had, at this point, we're putting together our team now. So we've got his client services person, which is my brother, his uncle, that's going to live with him. We got our agent. So now we have to find a finance team. So we found a financial team, someone who can help us manage his money in the best way. And then we need a CPA, someone who could make sure that we're paying the taxes properly. Then we needed an insurance person, all these different insurances that we put in place to make sure he's covered. We needed legal representation. What I didn't know at the moment is that we needed legal representation in the city and or state that he was in. So we chose a legal person here in Dallas. And, as things progressed, we had to bring on another legal person. So now we've got like a legal team. So now we've got the agent, CPA, finance manager, insurance person, legal representation, client services. So it's a whole little team. And that's how we decided who would do what. And for me, it was important I didn't choose an agency where they have, it's like all inclusive, where you've got the marketing team there, you've got your legal team, your CPA, and the finance person all in one spot. I decided that I wanted to hand select each person. I wanted a relationship with each person.
Yeah.
So each person I hand selected. They did not know each other. And I wanted to make sure this person didn't have a pre-relationship with this person, or they didn't have, hadn't done business together in the past. So I literally went through and hand selected each member of our team, and then brought them all together and said, okay, this is Team Maxey. And that's how we started our little team.
You see, and that's a great thought process that you invested your time as a parent, as a parent of a professional athlete, and people don't really understand the importance of that, or they don't see the importance of that. And you really, I mean, people are listening now. Please listen. And that to me is such a great way to handle a lot of what you just did and what you just said, because there's so much that has to go into our kids and our kids' success. And this, one of the things that you said that I loved is that you made sure that they didn't really know each other or had previous relationships with, you know what I mean, like the financial advisor, with the agent, with, you know what I mean? Because it's true. You have, sometimes it's better to separate everybody. One does not need to know what the other is doing. Sometimes people say, oh, it's good if we're all together on one page. No, no, no. You have this person who, let's say mom, who's navigating, and she's making sure that it's going the way that it needs to go for them and not for what the companies are saying it should be. And I love that, because you're holding it together and you're putting your son in the position that he should be and what you want or your son wants versus what everybody else wants. So I absolutely love that. And I love the way you managed it. You managed it all and you kept it close, because it's important for our kids. Sometimes they don't see it. Sometimes they don't see it or appreciate it at the beginning, but believe you me, a couple of years from now, he's like, wow. You know what I mean? When other players are telling him, oh, this happened, he's like, not me, didn't happen to me, because we have it all on lock. We actually thought about what we're doing. We actually took careful measures to make sure that I'm protected, because at the end of the day, which we're going to talk about soon, how to protect our kids, that is really important. But before we get to his life after he became an NBA player, let's just talk about, how did you and your family prepare for draft? And then let's go into draft night.
Oh, gosh. Draft night, it was, I remember his agent saying, Denyse, it's like prom night. Like, it's not prom. What are you talking about? My baby's leaving. Yeah. It's not prom. But he would be like, Denyse, just relax. It's going to be like prom, you know. So how did we prepare? So again, we're in a pandemic, never been done before. Draft date changes 3 times.
Yep.
Draft is generally in June. Nope, not having draft in June. In fact, will we even have a draft this year? We don't know at this moment, right? But he's still working out, and we're still optimistic this is going to happen. They changed it, I think, into July. I think the next date was July, sometime in July. Didn't happen then. I want to say they changed it, or they in August is when they started saying, okay, it's coming. We're not sure, but it's coming, right? And then maybe October or 1st of October, around that time, they finally said, okay, draft is going to be October 18th. I'm sorry, not October, November 18th. November 18th. So
yep.
Now we have a draft date, right? So we're like, oh, wow, we have a date to look forward to. And then the interviews come. And so again, we're in a pandemic, so he can't go and work out in front of people like he normally would. He can't go to these different cities and meet these head coaches in person and do the breakfast and the normal things that everybody's doing. The combine really wasn't a true combine. He didn't get that opportunity. Yeah. So, you know, he did a bunch of Zoom calls. It was, Zoom calls. And so we were like, okay, going into the draft, he was projected, even prior to going to Kentucky, he was projected as a lottery pick, you know. He's definitely going to be a lottery pick. Going into the draft, even a week before the draft, we were told he would, pretty much be a lottery pick, right? But our agent was very honest. He said, okay, this is his sweet spot between here and here. So we kind of didn't have any, even though that was out there from our agent, he was very, hey, these are the people I'm talking to. Here's his sweet spot between these numbers and these numbers, which was kind of on point. So as we prepare for the draft, I thought, gosh, my son won't be able to go and sit in a green room and have that experience that we had so looked forward to for many years, right? So me, being the person I am, decided I would recreate what it would have looked like on draft night if we were there. So I did renovations to my house here in Garland, the house that I'm in now. And I turned my downstairs living and dining area into a ballroom. I even had a stage built, an NBA stage built. If you go, I think you can find some of the videos on YouTube or something like that. But I had everything turned, literally tables. It looked like a ballroom. People thought we were at a venue or something. And then I had one room upstairs turned into a green room that was just for our little family. Like, it was a little table set up for myself, my husband, our kids, my mother. and that was it. And it was the green room. This was considered the green room where everything was happening at, and so the rest of the guests were downstairs. I
Hmm.
even brought in a doctor that did on-site COVID testing before they came in. So you had to show proof of a negative COVID test 48 hours prior to the event, and then once you arrived here, you had to get a COVID test, sit in your car, wait for the COVID results, and then you could enter my home. So that's how those were some of the measures we took. But I completely recreated what I felt like he would have wanted, I would have experienced if he had went somewhere for draft night. So that's kind of how we approached it, and then we were a nervous wreck, but at anything, I wanted it to be as memorable as possible for him. When he looked back at the pictures and the videos, I wanted him to think, okay, that felt like draft, as close as I could possibly get it to him. So that's our draft. That was our draft night.
Wow. So talk about his emotions though when his name was called at the 21st position. So talk about that, because I watched it today and I was like, I had to cry. I was like, wow. I just loved how, to me, his humbling feeling. But I want to hear from you. You were sitting right next to him, you and Dad. So talk about what his emotions meant to you and just everybody.
Well, when you think about it, the average parent, the average family, the average working class family, corporate America, being a teacher and educator, don't really have the funds laying around to drag your kid to
Mhm.
an EYBL tournament or an AAU tournament every single weekend. That stuff
Right.
costs thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
Um, so on that night, to sit there and finally hear his name called, and for him to have thought about all the late nights, you know, all the early mornings, all the weekends, all the times he couldn't go to a cousin's birthday party because he had a tournament, or all the times we said, no, you can't go outside and play because we don't want you to fall on your back because you got a tournament next week. All the times that, his dad, we go to a tournament on a Friday morning and we come back late on a Sunday night, and Sunday by 10, 11 o'clock, he's in the room with my husband watching not video, but the game tape, footage of
Mhm.
what he did or didn't do from that tournament and what he needed to get better at during that week to get prepared for the next tournament. When you think about all the work that he put in, and any other player that made it there, because there's one in a million chance that you'd make it there, right? When you think about all the work that you put in, the time that he spent at Kentucky, and those were 8 months. I call it boot camp. Those were 8 months of boot camp for him. Um, and then you finally hear your name called. I mean, just
Mhm.
think about it. You've been praying and hoping and dreaming of this moment for so many years, so many nights, so many tears, so much blood, so much sweat, so much work. And then finally you hear your name called. Like finally it's here. That moment is finally here. And yeah, so he was emotional. We were all emotional. I mean, there's a lot that we went through to get there.
Yep.
A lot. We gave up pretty much everything. Even his younger sister, she had to go sit in tournaments. His older sisters, couldn't get some of the things that they wanted because we don't have the money to buy what you want right now, because we got to put the money into, we got to go to a tournament
Yep.
next week, and we got to buy plane tickets, or we got to make sure we have gas, or we have to pay for a hotel, or whatever it is he needed. We all had to make a sacrifice to get there. So it was emotional. It was like, wow, we've finally got here. We've finally worked our butts off, and he put a lot of work in, and now his name is called, and he's on his way to the NBA. So that's when you see, when you look at that video, you think about, and that's any parent out there right now that's trying to figure out how are they going to pay for that next trip. You
Mhm.
know, how are they going to buy that expensive shoe that their kids asking for? How are they going to pay the bills when they get back from that trip? It's a real thing. It really is.
It is.
Like I said, the
It is.
average household, they don't have those funds. We pulled from retirement, we pulled from savings, we did everything we possibly had to do to make sure his dream came true. And that night, it came true. So those are the emotions you see when you see us shedding tears and, me holding back, and just saying, okay, Denyse, keep it together. Don't let it go right here. But that night, we just, it was a celebration, but at the moment, it was what you saw was just, oh my God, we finally got here. And we were grateful and appreciative that, someone called his name.
That's a true example of believing in your child.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, there's so much sacrifices that as parents we have to make. You know what I mean? It's like we got to give up our vacation time at work. We're not really going on a vacation because we're going away on a tournament. Or when we come back, like you said, we have to figure out what we're going to do with those credit card bills and how we're going to pay it off. But at the beginning, we're just like, okay, we got to get to that tournament. He's got to get to that tournament. And when we come back, we're like, man, what have we got to do? Do we do overtime? Do we do all these wonderful things to pay off? Because guess what? The next tournament's coming up in a month. And it's always like, there you go. We're just like, whatever, we'll be there. We'll be there. Just don't say no. We'll be there. So I just love the investment that your family made. You believed in what he wanted to do. He had this vision where, you know what? I want to go to the NBA, but everybody had that same vision. And it just makes that trajectory even easier. But what I laugh and I look at, I said, sometimes our kids enter the NBA and they're so young. I mean, they can't even lease their own apartments or buy their own homes when they're... So what are examples of things that you needed to still assist young Tyrese with?
Laundry.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. When I come up to visit him, like mountains of laundry. Like, dude, what are you doing? Throw it in the washer. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm serious. Really laundry.
Yeah.
But you're right. He was 20 years old. He didn't have an apartment. He didn't have any leasing credit. He never leased an apartment. We had an issue getting an apartment. He wanted a car, a fancy car. And we were like, dude, we can't afford that. We can't show that we can afford this type of car. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So, it was funny. We had a lot of fun with it, but you're right. They're 20 years old. He literally just turned 20 and he'd only been 8 months removed from his parents' house, 8 months removed. And now he's in the locker room with grown men with families. So, you're right. It was a challenge, trying to figure out how do you lease an apartment in a whole nother city and state during a pandemic. Not only is it you're in another state, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. So the challenges were real. We went up and we stayed in a hotel when he first got drafted to Philly. I think we ended up staying there for a few weeks and once again taking my vacation time. And we were in and out as many apartments as we possibly could, but we're in a pandemic. People are still kind of nervous. Nobody really the vaccine hadn't been released yet, and nobody really wanted. Only by God's grace did we not catch the virus during this time because we're in and out of apartments as much as possible. So we find him an apartment. He decides he wants. He's lived in the South long enough, and he wants a high-rise apartment. It's going to overlook the entire city of Philadelphia. So what does that look like? Here we go with parents. Okay, fine. We'll find you a condo that's going to overlook the whole city for whatever reason. And we do. And so he was happy with that. Only to say 6 months later, he didn't like it anymore. He wanted a house now because he bought a huge dog and now he wants a house. So there you go. But it was a challenge, like you said, you don't have, he doesn't have any credit as when for us, you're taught as when you go away to college at 18, you get your first credit card, you build your credit from there, you come out of college and you get an apartment and then you get married and you buy a house and, you save your money for 5-10 years, you put your down payment on the house. It's a process that was embedded in our minds. And now that process is out the window. He's 20 years old. He needs these things. And we're trying to say, okay, how do we get them? But so it was funny, but it all worked out, and we just figured it out, honestly. You're right. You have to just go in there and say, hey, He didn't have a credit card, so we ended up getting a credit card in my husband's name and adding Tyrese on to build credit.
Yep.
There was just so many different things that we had to do to make sure that he had what he needed, but we did it. And so now 2 years later, he's got an amazing amount of credit built up. We didn't let him buy too many things, but a couple houses, a couple cars, credit card, and then the condo. So now he's got, some credit and some history of paying things about insurance, which I just learned that today, that his insurance that he paid on his car for the last 12 months, does count towards his credit. I didn't know that until today. That was something interesting that I learned. But
learn something new every day.
Just learned it today. So pulled an insurance statement to show that he had, paid his insurance on time for 12 months, and that helps with credit too. So those are things that maybe parents don't know, but if you are listening, get your son insurance, get his own insurance on his car, and let him pay for that for 12 months, and that does help. So.
Yep, absolutely. And our kids, like I said, a lot of them are young, and this is their first job, and this isn't the average job, right? But they seem to think, some of them just say, I don't know, they just got drafted and their first contract is $8 million. And we have to tell them, oh, you don't have the $8 million today. Like, just so you know, like, it's over the 2 years or whatever, or even if it's a year, you don't have your first paycheck today. And guess what? You don't have any credit. So don't think just because you have this big salary coming to you that you can now just go to the bank and say, give me a house. Like, no, that's not how it works. And it's just funny because we have to teach these things. And sometimes it's a learning process for parents. A lot of the times these parents never had homes themselves, never had a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's new. They're like, I don't know what to do. But don't just assume that just because your kid made it to the NBA that now all of a sudden you're just going to start buying all these $1 million worth of goods, because that's not really a good thing to do.
You have to, and you make a very good point. It's a contract over time, so that you're not getting all of that first year, and you have to think about taxes. When I first saw the taxes that were taken out of my son's check, I called his agent and said, "You've got to be kidding. This cannot be right."
Yep, that first check.
I was like, wait a minute. Where's the rest of my son's money? And he was like, "Denyse, this is right." And I didn't even take his word. I called the CPA and I sent him a copy of the check, and I said, this can't be right. This cannot be the amount of money that y'all are taking out for taxes. And he's like, "Yeah, Denyse, it's right. It's the correct amount." So you have to think about that too. It's a great contract, and it's amazing over the time span and what the amount of money they're going to make. But you're right, you can't run right out and just start spending it up, because you have to be mindful of it. It has to last for quite some time, and
exactly.
But yeah, the taxes, you gotta factor those in when you're looking at that money.
So let's now get to the team. Let's talk to me about his rookie year, and what was it like for you to see him for the first time with that 76ers jersey on?
So, oh my gosh, rookie year. So the very first time I saw him with the jersey on, once again, we're in a pandemic. No fans are allowed in the arena. No fans. Not even mom and dad. No fans. So we are in a hotel room because we're still looking for him a place to stay, because he's staying in the hotel room a couple doors down from us at this time. And he is, I can't remember what game it was, but it was a preseason game. And they put him in, and he comes out, and I'm screaming in the hotel room. I'm just like, oh my God, my son is playing in the NBA, and I'm jumping up and down in the hotel room, and I'm screaming. And my husband's super laid back, super cool dude. And so I'm jumping up and down, and I'm screaming. I'm like, oh my God, you see him? Do you see him? Do you see him? And he's like, yes, babe, I see him. So he comes out and he hits 3 little floaters in a row. And I'm like, oh my God, he scored his first bucket. And I'm writing down the time that he scored the first bucket on the NBA, in the TV, on TV, and what we were doing. So that's what my first moment was like. And, everybody was calling and texting. It's like, oh my gosh, everybody calls him Reese. I'm the only person in the world, I think, that calls him Tyrese. But everybody knows him as just Reese. So everybody's like, oh my gosh, you see Reese, and Reese is this, and Reese is doing this. And but that was my first moment in that preseason game where he came out and he hit those 3 little floaters. And then he kind of became known
Yeah.
for the floaters for a moment until Doc said, not those floaters.
Yeah. I love that. So, how does Tyrese receive advice from the vet players on the team, like Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, James Harden? And in your opinion, how does that impact who Tyrese is as a player?
I really started to notice a shift in Tyrese's conversation maybe towards the end of the playoffs last season.
Mm-hmm.
He started to talk more about investments. He started to talk more about when he's ready to buy a house and saving his money. Not that he was ever a person that just splurged, but he started to make little comments that I hadn't heard him make prior to. Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid have really taken them under their wing and really fed into him a lot. I'm very appreciative to it. Very appreciative. Some of the things that Joel, I've even, talked to Joel a couple of times just in passing, maybe coming to a game or seeing him after a game or something like that. But, they've been amazing vets. And one of the things that I heard a lot when we were going through the draft process is that your hope is that your kid, your young professional athlete lands on a team where they're good vets. So the vets that are going to take them under their wing. Another person that was really good talking to him last year was George Hill. George Hill came on. He came on maybe mid-season, and he was another guy that kind of took Tyrese under his wing and really fed into him and poured different good positive vibes. Another guy was Rondo. Tyrese would work out with Rondo during the summer in LA. And so he would, call him and talk to him about different things and, just kind of help him through the whole rookie year process. He had a real rookie year experience. He was that rookie that, had to bring the food or carry Joel's bag or, go out and get food late at night or whatever they asked him to do. They gave him the whole rookie experience. But, and then James Harden just came on board. So I haven't had the opportunity to really learn more about James. I think he's only maybe 10, 12 games in, maybe 2 months, I think, maybe 2, if it's even been 2 months. I haven't really had a chance to really hear a whole lot. But from what I've seen online and from the comments that Tyrese has made, he's really been a very positive impact on Tyrese thus far. So the vets are amazing. They've been really good. And just imagine, rookie year playing in the playoffs with Joel Embiid. That's like, that's amazing. There's so many amazing guys in the NBA. I've respected their work for so many years, what they have to go through to get there, obviously because of what my son has went through to get there. But at the same time, now they're in an era where social media, where their whole lives are played out on social media. I can't imagine being in their shoes right now, where everywhere you walk, there's a camera in your face, or every room you walk in, there's a camera, and you have to watch and do everything in a way that, you don't want it to be played out or the wrong sound bite taken out of context and played. So I might have a huge respect for these guys and what they and their families have went through to get to where they are. But yeah, the vets have been great, and with the Sixers, have been amazing.
Tyrese has said that as a player, you need to stay humble, stay hungry, and everything will be okay. Has there ever been a time where he just felt defeated or exhausted and felt that things were just too hard? And if so, how did you remind him to stay humble, stay hungry, and that everything will be okay?
Well, we teach all of them to stay humble. Yeah. But I'll say this, and this may sound harsh, but it was just where I needed to be and what I needed him to think about his rookie year. Initially, his rookie year, he wasn't getting the minutes he felt like he should have got. And so, he would call me, and then I got to a point and I said, no one's going to feel sorry for you. You are 20 years old, you're in the NBA, and you're playing on a championship caliber team. If you don't get 20 minutes tonight, nobody in the world is going to feel sorry for you. So pick yourself up, go back in the gym tomorrow and work hard and work for the minutes that you deserve. And I think he kind of like, whoa, Mom, that's not the response I wanted from you, but I can't baby you. It is what it is.
Right.
Nobody, you're in a great spot, dude. You are 20 years old playing in the NBA. You're on an amazing team with amazing vets. It could be worse. There are 1 million+ people that would trade spaces with you right now. So it's going to be okay. So pick it up, get up tomorrow morning, go back in the gym, work hard, and eventually you'll earn your spot. So when he would come to me with those times, sometimes I would, listen. And even now today I listen. If he didn't have the game that he thought he should have had, or, my son hates losing. Losing. So it's a big deal. I don't care if there's 82 games. He wants to win all 82.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to him. He wants to win all 82. So he gives himself, I think he started this in college, where he's got 12 hours to mourn a loss, and then he's got to get back to it. He says 12 hours, and he tries to get back to it, but in his mind, he does not like to lose ever at anything.
Yeah.
So I think, when he has those moments and he's down on himself and he's not playing the way he feels like he should play, or didn't score as many points, or didn't do what he needed to do to help his team get the win that night, then those are the times when he's down on himself. And we have to remind him, hey, there's tomorrow. You got another game in 2 days.
That's right.
So you didn't get that game. You didn't perform like you felt like you should have to help your team be successful. Now you have another opportunity to do it the next time you touch the floor. Those are the things that we talk. We talk after every game, every single game. Yeah. Doesn't matter how late it is at night, he calls me. And we talk every morning, either on his way to the gym or when he finishes a workout. But we talk several times a day.
Absolutely. You know what? It's like, once the game is over, let it go. There's nothing you can do about it anymore. And sometimes, you say it sounds harsh, but it really doesn't. Or I guess I understand, right? Because I used to say to my son, no one's going to coddle you.
No.
Like, they don't care. It's don't get down on yourself. You were chosen to play on this team. It's not like we paid a fee and then we said, okay, I want to play for the Toronto Raptors. You know what I mean? You were chosen. They chose you for your skill. So you may not get much minutes. I mean, he does, but I'm just saying, if this were the case, you know what I mean? I would tell him, like, if you aren't getting any minutes or getting the minutes you feel you deserve, well, then you're just going to have to really work harder than what you're doing now. And that's it. And now he's just like, yeah, I get it. I'm good. Like, the mindset is, I'm great. I get it. But at the beginning, you know what I mean? It was tough when he was playing for the Orlando Magic and didn't get much minutes. And you know what I mean? So it was hard because these players just want to play. They just want to get on the court. They don't understand why I got to sit the whole game. Why I got to sit 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 games I didn't play. Nobody wants to sit there. Nobody. But don't take that person. Yep. So just keep working hard. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that, you know what I mean? Like, your response to him was pick yourself up and keep pushing forward, because that's all you can do. So now let's go to All-Star Weekend. What was that experience like for you watching your son in the Rising Stars Challenge game?
Gosh, All-Star Weekend was amazing. All-Star Weekend was one of probably the best moments of our life thus far. It was a moment where we could just woosah, if you will. We could say, okay, this weekend, we don't have to be nervous. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? No, it's a weekend. We could just say, we're here. He's done a great job up to this point. Just go, have fun, relax, right? For him to be selected, second year as a rising star was like, whoa, this is good. He's projecting in the right path. But yeah, it was great. It was really good. From the moment we arrived, I say me and my husband arrived there. being greeted the moment we stepped off the plane with our names. They're like, oh, okay, we kind of started too then, huh? But yeah, he did. It was fun. It's a great accomplishment. It was great for him to be recognized. It was amazing to be there. I had never been to an All-Star weekend, even when it was held here in Dallas. We had a big ice storm that year that came to Dallas, so we didn't get a chance to go. And I don't think we've had one in Dallas since then. But it was amazing. It was so just breathtaking to watch him, go out there and compete to a certain degree, just because, for one, he just got off a plane at 5 a.m. that morning. I don't think people know this, but his flight got delayed.
Wow.
And so he played in Milwaukee that night before. Then he finally arrived in Cleveland around 5 a.m. that morning, and he had a whole slew of different things to do that day, appearances and all kinds of stuff, then try to go to the game that night. So by the time he got to the game, he was like a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
He was literally like a zombie trying to play. So it was just great. I mean, like I said, it's a great accomplishment. Obviously, it's just like wanted to check that box, and now let's really try to work hard and get to the next level to be selected as an actual All-Star. But it was great. It was a great experience. The whole weekend was amazing.
Wow. Oh yeah, I did hear about the weather, because we had 2 Raptors players that were stuck as well for hours.
Hours on the tarmac. Yes.
Hours.
Yep. Yes.
Hours.
Yes.
So yeah. Oof, and that must not have been pleasant. So so before we get into the fun facts, I just want to know, for you, what is it like being the courtside mom to Tyrese Maxey?
It's fun, it's cool to see him. I've kind of prided myself in never being a Tyrese Maxey fan. And the reason why is because I have to be Tyrese Maxey's mother, and I have to tell him, even at the age of 21 and beyond, right from wrong. So I can't always just be in awe of him. I love him very much, and I think he's an amazing kid. I mean, amazing young man. I love him very much. But at the same time, I try not to be in awe.
Yeah.
Go on social media and look at all the stuff and read every article, and for one, you definitely don't want to do that. Or I'm just not. I'm not that mom. I'm not saying it's, a good or a bad thing to do. It's just how I've selected to do things, just so that I can stay in the mom space. And right. In order for me to do that, I choose not to be in awe of Tyrese Maxey. So with that being said, I'm very proud. I'm very proud of what he's done. I'm very proud of where he's going. I'm proud of how he handles himself. I feel good that he is very humble. And he's not, he is 21, but he's not doing too many things that you wouldn't want, your 21-year-old to do. So I'm very proud, and it feels good. I feel like, okay, maybe hubby and I did something right, to have gotten him to this point, and he makes good decisions. And one of the things I've always said to him every single time he walked out of this door is to make good decisions. You're not going to always make the right decision, but think about it. Give yourself it's a 10-second rule in our house. Seconds. Just give yourself those 10 seconds to think about this decision and what type of consequences, good or bad, they may have. That's all I ask you to do. Yeah. I don't ask you to be perfect. There's no such thing. But I do ask you to go out there, be a good person, be a good human being, be a person that is going to motivate, inspire, to do good when you wake up in the morning. That's all I ask you to do. I ain't asking you to be perfect, though. Not. I am asking you just to be a good person, have a good heart. That's it.
Yeah. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do, and that's who I am. That's the Tyrese Maxey mom. I wish I could give you more and more glam, but that's just the bottom line. Is just be the best person you can be.
You know what? That's the glam right there. It is. Yeah. It is. You know what? And you're right. You have to be his mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We say we're not a fan, and I get what you're saying. It's not that you enjoy everything that your son does, and you love him, everything. But I get what you're saying. You're not just starstruck. You still
Mm-mm.
have to be his mother. Just because our kids get to the league, it does not mean
Mm.
that our role should change.
They don't.
We have to, exactly. It never should. And I just say sometimes to moms, don't change who you were before just because your son is where he is now. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. You're still
No,
mom. So
still mom.
we don't lose focus, right? We tell our kids
Yeah,
don't lose focus. We can't lose focus.
yeah.
So
And
very
trust me, I've
important.
seen some that have lost focus.
Well, me too.
And but it's just like I said, where I am as a person, as a human, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, it's just for me, I just want to stay in this space, and I'm perfectly fine in this
Yep.
space. I'm cool in my skin. I'm happy in my skin. I'm happy being in corporate America. I'm happy being a working mom. I'm happy where I am in life. And maybe
Absolutely.
because of that, then I can stay and continue to just parent my son. So,
Absolutely. And for those listening, we're saying is don't change from being the parent you were. Just
yeah,
always remain as your child's parent. So
because they still need
let's
you. They do.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
they
you.
still need you, even in this space. And it's funny, he was telling me this maybe about a month or so ago. Even where he is now, Mom, I still need you. I mean, he still needs to talk to me. He still needs me to help him make
Sure.
a decision. I don't make decisions for him. I will help him talk through a decision to weigh his
Mm-hmm.
options. But all the decisions are
Yep.
made by him. They
Yeah,
still need you, so you can't lose sight of who you are as a
that's
parent.
right.
You can't do that. I think that helps them along the way as well.
Absolutely. I mean, my son and I, we talk a lot. And again, he makes his own decisions, but I'm that sounding board when he says, Mom, what
Mm-hmm.
do you think of this, this, this? And he's 29. And you know what I mean? And I'll say, hey, well, this is my opinion. And that's it. I don't tell him if I were you, I would do. Nope. It's just, what do you think? This is what Wendy thinks. Now you tell
Mm-hmm.
me what Kim thinks, and that's it. And then we go our separate ways. And it's always, you know what? Appreciate you too, and done. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the fact that he's coming to me as his mother, you know what I mean? He understands, I trust her, and she's always going to make sure I'm in that great position. I always tell
Mm-hmm.
him the ultimate decision is yours. So just remember that, and
Mm-hmm.
we're good. So like you said, don't lose the sight that we're still parents. So now let's do some fun facts. What is Tyrese's go-to dish that you make that he must always have?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. It's just spaghetti. It's turkey spaghetti. I'm always going to make it, and even now, the few times he does get to come, well, he gets to come only once actually during the season when they
Mhm.
play the Mavericks, and so he was here and he came in. He's like, "What do we have for dinner?" I was like, "Spaghetti." He's like, "Oh, I don't even know why I asked, Mom." Every time he comes in, it's a big pan of spaghetti, the garlic toast. I'm not, he's got a chef, so I'm not worried about any nutrition. But when he comes here, he's going to get a big pan of spaghetti. We're going to
Aw.
probably bake some cookies, and we're definitely going to have sweet tea. We are Southern, like I said, and anytime even when I go to Philadelphia, I go to the store and I'll buy him a jug of sweet tea and I'll put it in his fridge. I'll probably drive his chef crazy because I do it every single time I go because he's like, oh, I can tell my mom has been here because there is a jug of sweet tea in the
Mhm.
fridge.
Listen, I'm sure he loves the fact that when he goes in the fridge and he sees something from home
Yeah.
there, right? Our boys miss home. So that's awesome. What is one childhood item he couldn't live without, but other than a basketball?
One childhood item that he couldn't live without. I would have to say his PlayStation.
Mhm.
So, yeah, his PlayStation,
Mhm.
I didn't allow him to play his PlayStation during the week because I wanted him to focus on his grades. So he could only play it on the weekend. And so he would look forward to when he was off on a weekend, or the few times I would let him pack it up and take it on a tournament weekend.
Yeah.
So his PlayStation is one that he just couldn't live without. And we also use it as a punishment. If he didn't do something or the room wasn't clean or something, then you don't get to play PlayStation. And he was already limited, so he was like, he would not be very happy with me, but I would say it's
Mhm.
PlayStation.
You gotta hide the controllers. Yeah. So
Yeah. And that's
yep.
all we would
Yep.
do was just go take the controllers or take the plug,
Yep.
and so he's
Yep.
got to literally sit there with it in his room with no access to it. It was a
Stare at it,
translation.
but he can't play. So, did he have? I think you said this before, but did he have a nickname? And if so, what was it?
Everybody calls him Reese. I mean,
Yeah.
for many years, most people didn't even know his name was Tyrese. I mean, because I'm the only person that calls him that, really.
Yeah.
I think maybe more people now, they see it as because that's his legal name. But high school, junior high, elementary, nobody knew his name was actually Tyrese. They really didn't know his actual name was Tyrese maybe until junior, senior year.
Mm.
They just thought I was just something I called him, but he had been known by Reese for so long to where nobody
Yeah.
knew that Tyrese was his true name. But
Yeah.
Reese,
So to everybody, he was Reese Maxey. Yeah.
yeah, everybody, he was Reese Maxey. And they'd see Tyrese and they'd be
Yeah.
like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "Well, that's his
Yeah.
actual name. It's just that for so many years, people have called him
Yeah.
Reese. They didn't, nobody knew it was
Right.
actually Tyrese." Yeah.
What advice would you give to another courtside mom about dealing with a coaching decision that she did not agree with?
You don't say anything.
Mm.
I mean, you can disagree with the coaching. Are you talking about on an NBA level or high school, just period?
Doesn't matter. Period.
So we've always, obviously, my husband was a coach, so we really, took pride in trying to build a relationship with any coach that he had outside of my husband. And you do what the coach asks of you to do, and then let us
Mm-hmm.
deal with it on the back end. So if
Yeah.
I mean, I have had a run in with a coach, and just one, only one, only one. And it was a build up of couple of different things, and we laugh about it now, so I can tell this story with no problem. But it was way back, fifth, sixth grade, something like that. And it's not that I just didn't agree with the way things were handled, and so I just kind of told him how I felt about it, and we moved on. It was just that.
Yeah.
But going into high school coaches, I wouldn't have said anything to a coach. I would probably, talk to Tyrese, kind of have him sit down and talk to the coach. Same what we do with our daughter now. If you disagree with something that your coach is doing, then you're the player. That person's the coach. Sit down and talk to them and try to get a better understanding of what they want from you and what you need from them.
Yeah.
For me, I just chose not to reach out to Calipari. You never heard. I had one phone call from me or my husband as it pertained
Yeah.
to our son. Not one phone call. He's actually talked about that too. We were a set of parents that, he was very hard on our son, and he tells people now, even in his recruiting, that we were some parents that never called him. We never said a word. We would look. He was hard, and we didn't like it, but we felt like he was doing what he thought was right to get Tyrese in the best position that he
Absolutely.
could. So we never said a word. Even in the NBA, I mean, what are you going to say? Am I going to pick up the phone and call Doc Rivers and say, "Hey, I don't agree with that coaching decision"? You think he's going to listen to me? I don't even have access to
Yeah.
him. So you
Yep.
better start thinking about it, at an early age. The relationship is between the
Soon
player and the
enough.
coach. It is not
That's right.
between the parent and the coach. That's not the relationship. So you
Yeah.
want your child, your son, daughter, whomever, to be the best they can be. They need to be coachable. They need to be coachable. Now, if the coach is doing something that's, not right or something like that,
Right.
obviously, you as a parent should step in and do what you need to do as a parent. But, I don't know, maybe they should have ran this play or they should run this defense or something. You really can't,
Exactly.
jump in
Nope.
and tell your kid, "Don't do that." You run the play you want. No,
Imagine.
you have to keep in mind that the relationship is between the player and the coach.
And the coach.
That's it.
Exactly.
And for me, I would advise that mom to talk to your child and really push your child to have a good open dialogue with the coach at whatever
Right.
level they are at. That's the advice I would give.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give to a player on how to deal with a tough teammate?
That's tough.
Mm.
Ooh, um, yeah, that's a tough one. What advice would I give? I mean, we've had a couple. I don't
It is
know, try
tough.
to talk to them. You
Yeah,
know, that's tough. When you have a
it
teammate
is.
that is selfish or out of line, and we've seen it. I just you just do the best you can. In this
Yeah,
space, what I tell Tyrese is right now, son, you have a job. You go to work, so you have to go out there and do your job. Regardless, even at high school level, you're trying to win a game, you're trying to get to a state championship. What do you need to do? Go be the best person you can be and try to,
right.
find the positive with that particular teammate as much as you possibly can. Try to talk to them. Try to, advise them, hey, people are watching, where are we trying to go with this? What's the next level we're trying to get to? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
that one I will be at my wit's end particularly when you get older. How do you deal with a tough teammate? Best you can.
yeah.
You do the best you
It is
can.
hard. It is
It's
hard.
hard. That's the hard
Yeah,
question. That's one I've never had before. Um,
yeah.
but in my family, we crack a lot of jokes. Um, we crack a lot of jokes when I'm glad there's not like a fly on the wall when it's just us talking. And we probably laugh our way through some of the most difficult moments, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Laughter's the best
laugh
medicine.
our way
So,
through it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
S- Well, my last question to you is, if you could only give one piece of advice to another courtside mom, what would that advice be?
if I could give one piece of advice to another courtside mom, it would be to stay true to who you are as a person, no matter what.
Love
No
it.
matter what. Don't allow any person, any circumstance to determine who you are, who your character is. Just stay true to who you are.
Yeah.
As women, I'm sure we can lose sight of who we are. We work, we take care of our families, we take care of our husbands, we take care of our kids,
That's right.
we take care of all the people around us. And so I have had to fight to just be Denyse Maxey,
Yeah.
not just Coach Maxey's wife or Tyrese Maxey's mom or Denyse Maxey's mom or, whomever. Just stay true to who you are as a woman, as a mom. That would be the best piece of advice I feel like I could give to another courtside mom.
That's one of the best pieces of advice that I've heard in a long time because it is so true. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, we do so much. And it's just in our character to nurture and to be there
Mm-hmm.
for everybody. But sometimes we forget, hold on, wait, what about me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, sometimes I need help too, or I just want to relax. I just want to be able to sit and watch the game just quietly. I want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy this moment. I want to, you know what I mean? I just want to chill. And
Yeah.
sometimes that can't be when all that is said and done, you know what I mean? And we're by ourselves and we're like, man, I wish I had 5 minutes just to. And you know what, as mothers, we're always grateful for what we do and what we're able to give. But sometimes you're right. It is nice. So do
Mm-hmm.
not lose sight of who you are as a woman first,
As a
right? Because
woman.
you're a woman first
Mm-hmm.
before you're a mom and everything else. So love, love, love that advice. And but that's it, Denyse. I'm so happy to have spent this time with you. I learned so much about your son. I learned so much about you and your family in the process, and how you navigated from the beginning, from the onset, from everything that you've done, your role of getting Tyrese where he is today, your husband's role, and getting Tyrese where he is today, and just the sacrifices that you made as a family. And you know what? You just believed in his vision, you believed in his dream, and look where he is now. So, congratulations to you and your family and everything that you've done, because he wouldn't have been able to do it without his parents. It would have been probably a lot different.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this time and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything you want done, baby, I do it naturally.